Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole load of information, different sources, and really boil it down to the key insights for you.
Yeah, the idea is to get you well-informed, fast, without feeling like you're drowning in data.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something a bit different, actually. It's a sales meeting scenario, but from an English language learning resource.
Right, which sounds maybe basic, but it's surprisingly rich. It's got vocabulary, language points, all wrapped around sales strategies.
It really does. So our mission today is to unpack that. We're looking for the actionable stuff, the lessons about sales, about business communication, even workplace dynamics, all from this seemingly simple dialogue.
It shows how even everyday learning materials can offer some pretty solid, real-world takeaways. Okay, where should we start?
Let's set the scene. What's the situation in this meeting?
Okay, so it's pretty tense. It's a sales meeting called Regently because, well, sales figures are poor. The source really stresses the immediacy. We need to do it now.
Okay, urgent.
Huh.
And there's someone leading it.
Yeah, someone demanding concrete solutions. They're not messing around. They need answers.
Got it. So high pressure. And what are the first ideas that come up?
Well, the first suggestion is pretty straightforward. Lower prices, to match the competitors.
Okay, lower prices. How did that go down?
Not well.
Yeah.
The reaction is pretty negative almost immediately. It gets called not very creative.
Oh,
And someone else chimes in, it'll never fly with Swan, which is quite telling.
it'll never fly. So it won't work, they won't agree, and this swan figure looms large already.
Exactly. And that phrase, match the competitors, the source defines it as, being as good as or better than others in your field, your industry.
Right. But clearly just matching isn't enough here. They want something more. What's next?
So then someone else suggests a promotion, specifically a 2-for-1 offer.
A classic promotion. Better reaction this time.
Actually, no. Initially, it gets kind of lumped in with the first idea. Someone says that's the same thing.
Like it's just another way to cut prices?
Sort of, yeah. And another person just bluntly calls it a bad idea. Really bad idea.
Wow, tough crowd. So the source clarifies promotion here means a marketing tactic, right? Like buy one, get one free, not moving up the career ladder.
Correct. A temporary sales boost strategy.
Ah.
But yeah, initially also shot down.
Okay, so two ideas, both meet resistance. But you mentioned this Swan character earlier. Isn't the CEO expected?
Yes, exactly. Mr. Swan. The source mentions he'll be here any minute. And his arrival is, well, it's a game changer.
Ah, okay. So what happens when the big boss walks in? Does the 2-for-1 idea come up again?
It does. And this is where it gets really interesting from a dynamics perspective. When it's mentioned with Swan in the room,
Let me guess, different reaction.
completely different. Mr. Swan himself says, I kind of like the sound of that.
No way, from bad idea to I kind of like the sound of that.
Yep. And he even follows up with, it's something we should consider. Suddenly this bad idea is back on the table looking quite attractive.
That is a stark contrast. It really shines a light on the whole communication and workplace dynamics angle, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. You have to wonder, why the sudden shift? Is it the idea itself? Or who's now listening?
It strongly suggests that, while authority talks, the CEO's opinion seems to instantly reframe the idea's value.
Precisely. It makes you question how much the actual merit of an idea matters versus who supports it or who proposed it. People might just, align with power.
Or maybe they're afraid to disagree with the boss, even if they genuinely thought it was a bad idea moments before.
That's definitely a possibility, too.
Hmm.
Fear of contradiction, wanting to be seen as agreeable.
Hmm.
It all plays into those office politics.
And the source itself comments a bit on the manager leading the meeting initially, right? Before Swan arrived.
It does, yeah. There's a brief observation that maybe this manager isn't great, specifically pointing out that they seem to discourage employees, cut them off.
Not fostering a great environment for ideas, then.
Seems not. And it contrasts this with a little anecdote about a different general manager who was really positive and encouraging.
And what was the effect there?
Well, the anecdote suggests it really boosted employee motivation, even loyalty. It makes that link between a manager's style, encouraging, supportive, valuing people, and the team's performance and, well, overall morale.
That makes total sense. Good management is so much more than just hitting targets. It's about building up your people.
Right. Motivating them, helping them grow, making them feel heard. That seems to be the takeaway there.
Okay, let's pivot slightly to the language itself. This was a language learning resource. What key bits of vocabulary or phrasing did it pull out?
Well, obviously, drive sales was a key one, meaning, increase sales. Pretty fundamental.
Sure.
Then there was in the market, defined as being in the industry or in that particular field.
Ah, right. Context is everything there.
Exactly. The source gave examples like English pod is the best language pod in the market, or thinking about iPods being the most popular MP3 players in the market, or even just positioning your own product as, say, the cheapest in the market. It's about your competitive landscape.
Got it. Defining where you sit relative to others, were there other phrases highlighted?
Yeah, they had a fluency builder section, which is quite useful, actually. It offered more natural-sounding alternatives to common phrases.
Oh, like what?
Okay, so instead of saying someone will arrive soon, it suggested be here any minute. Like we mentioned with the CEO, he'll be here any minute. It just sounds a bit more, well, natural in conversation.
Yeah, it does. What else?
Consider, instead of just thinking about. So when Swan says it's something we should consider, it sounds a bit more formal, more evaluative than just thinking about it.
Right. Carries a bit more weight.
Exactly. And the last one was brilliant, as another way to say great.
Ah, brilliant.
Hey, yeah. The source notes it can feel a bit more British English, perhaps, and often implies a stronger level of approval or enthusiasm than just great, like when the idea suddenly becomes brilliant once the CEO likes it.
These nuances are important, aren't they? Especially in business. Using consider versus think about, or knowing when brilliant fits.
Definitely. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. Your word choice, your tone, it all sends signals.
And connecting this back, this whole scenario, this dialogue, it really underlines that point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You see how the language shifts, how ideas are framed and reframed, and how the presence of authority, well, changes the whole conversation.
Yeah.
It shows why understanding business English isn't just vocabulary lists.
It's about understanding the context, the subtext, the dynamics. Listening to those common phrases helps you navigate all that.
Precisely. You gain tools, not just to speak, but to understand what's really going on in those meetings, those interactions.
It's quite amazing how much we could pull out from what looked like a simple language exercise.
Hmm.
Key principles of sales brainstorming, power dynamics, effective communication.
It really is. A lot packed in there.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. We saw the push for creative, or at least well-received, sales strategies needed to drive sales.
Uh-huh. And we definitely saw how much workplace dynamics, like the CEO's influence, can impact whether an idea even gets considered, let alone accepted.
And we picked up some useful, practical English vocabulary and phrases for that business context, like match the competitors, in the market, consider, brilliant.
Right. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Go for it.
Have you ever been in a situation at work, or anywhere really, where you saw something similar play out? Maybe an idea's reception changed dramatically based on who suggested it or who was in the room.
Yeah. Or maybe a time when a seemingly simple suggestion suddenly took off or got shut down because of how it was phrased or presented.
Exactly. Think about the language that was used in those moments. How much did the words themselves or the power dynamics influence what happened?
That's definitely worth reflecting on. It might give you some new insights into your own workplace or past experiences.
Hopefully this deep dive gave you some food for thought on all that, and maybe even on different sales promotion tactics too.
Thanks for joining us today as we explored this sales meeting scenario. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.